Good morning, my tiki-talkies. How are my tiki-talkies this fabulous Monday morning? Boy, it was such a busy weekend for us. However, I did finally get to just relax and reset a little bit yesterday. And then we filmed, and by we I mean me, but I took my kids and my husband to the pool last night to film the alien invasion video, which is hysterical. I can't wait for you guys to see it. So it's going to be awesome. If you guys did not see already, I had done a live on Saturday with the lovely metallics that I got in the mail from Artistic Isle Watercolor, which I'm so excited to show you more of today. And Lindsay from Artistic Isle Watercolor happened to show up and be here for that. So I was really, really excited. And yesterday I finished this piece. So we were working on this on Friday, and I just wanted to show it to you finally finished. It's like a glowing beauty. I didn't know how much I was going to love this, and I am so totally, completely in love with this piece. So for those of you that weren't here on Friday to see this, the replay will be available on my website, which is, let me get my hand there, right here. You can click that. It'll take you to my site where you can see replays. I still have a bunch. I am in the process of getting up and on there. It's just a very lengthy process. So, because I add a new one every single day. So anyway, I used all of my metallics on this flower and these, and then of course just darkened the background to have indications of shadows, which was really pretty. So just really love this, and then added foil. This is like an orange foil that has like these little, I don't know if they're acid marks or burn marks or whatever in them, but I don't use it often and I feel like I should, and I'm so glad that I did because I love it. So that being said, today I figured I would show you some of the swatches that I did. Good morning, Charlene. Happy Monday morning to you. How are you this morning? Hopefully well. Thank you. I think so too. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did, but turns out I love it. I need to throw some stuff away. Those are used. Oh, and I was also going to show you guys, let me get this off of here without tearing the card, that these were the cards that we used from the Zoli Palette Scout deck for this one. And I was not sure I was going to like it because these are ugly, but we used the triadic color scheme for it. And it turns out it was right, just like the last time we used it, and it turned out to be right. Charlene says, I'm happy. How are you? I'm so happy that you're happy. I'm good. Not feeling as rested as I would like because it was a really busy weekend, but I'm good. And I filmed another Florida Gen video last night at the pool for an alien invasion that turns out to just be a floating pool speaker with a fountain. So I'm excited to show you guys that one. But anyway, so I'm thinking today we'll do some techniques on working with the metallics and different ways that you can work with the metallics to, achieve either this type of look or, I mean, really just different ways that you can work with metallic watercolors. Yeah, it's been a while in the works because we've had a lot of storms. And so, you kind of have to wait before you can get in a pool when it storms. But 'tis the time of year here. And I have a few others I still have the lazy bone I need to film for. I've been a little creatively stuck with that one, but we'll see. So anyway, so that's kind of what I had thought of today. Or if you'd prefer, we can create another bookmark. don't forget the peacock session. I finally am going to be finishing that this week sometime. So I'll have one last session on that, and then those will go up on my website for you to decide if you would like to try to paint for yourself. And I feel like I had one other thing. Where is it? Let's see where it is, if I have it over here. Oh, there it is. Hang on, let me grab it. I have, just for those of you that are interested, I talk a lot about quality paper, and I know that Arches is extremely expensive. And so I found this and thought if anyone was looking to at least try, the Arches cold press paper, this little travel journal is actually really affordable. It's $30.99, I think. You get 15 sheets, which sounds like $2 and some change a sheet. Oh my gosh. However, you can do a lot with these. You can section it like this. You can do 4 verticals or 3 verticals. You can section it long ways and do 2 whole ones. You could do 1 big one. But this will at least get you for an affordable price into working or learning to work with high quality professional paper. And really, this is like the highest quality professional paper you can get. So I do have this in my showcase in case you're interested. You can go check that out. Again, this is the Arches Cold Press Travel Journal, and it is 6 inches by 10 inches, and it's the cold press 140 pound. So if you're interested, check that out for sure. And I think with that being said, we can go ahead and get started. So I'm going to just move this stuff off to the side for now. And I also took some time to swatch everything while I was live last weekend. And these are all the things that I have from Artistic Isle Watercolors, which you can see is quite a bit. Where is that located, Jen? The paper. If you're talking about the paper, it's in my showcase. Let me see if I can add it here. Let me see if I can add. I don't want to add a scene. I want to add a source. And I really hate working in this because I know where it is on my phone, but I don't know how to find it on this desktop app. But if you go to, if you're on like my profile, the second button in looks like a shopping bag. You click there and it'll show you everything in my showcase. You can scroll through and you'll find this. Ta-da. I can try to see if I can link it. I don't know if it's gonna let me. But yeah. I did, Beezy. Where were you? We start promptly. No, we don't. But yeah. Why am I so funny? Why am I so stupid? All right, let me see. Tools. Maybe there's something under tools. Live goal, fan club, poll and gift vote, multi-guest, and co-host. Nope. It's not like I wasn't awake. Well, then where were you? Toilet? Explosive diarrhea? I mean, come on. Come on. All right. So, where is my crappy paper? I think I ran out, so I need to grab another one. Right here. Now, there's so many different ways you can work with this. Inside the toilet, even better. Dude, funny story about being inside the toilet. My best friend has a sister, and her sister is kind of like a periphery friend of mine. Like, I don't really talk to her regularly, but we always have a great time when we're around each other. So I get to hear funny stories sometimes. And we were over there last weekend, last Friday night, getting to see my bestie and her husband and stuff. And we go over there and she tells me that her sister texts her a picture of a frog that made its way into her toilet. and she didn't see it until she was in the middle. And I don't know if it like jumped and hit her or what, but she screamed bloody murder, flipped out, saw it in there, and flushed it down the toilet. Well, apparently it made its way back up because she went to use the toilet the next day and she found it up underneath the rim of the toilet. So freaking gross. And so she called her neighbor to come deal with it. And I thought that was hysterical. So anyway, all right. Now, I determined, right, Charlene? I know. I determined that it was actually easier for you guys to see the shimmer action by not showing you my boobs. Let me try this again. Bringing this down here and kind of showing it to you from the side like this so that you don't get the glare from the light in the same way. So I'm going to move that here, and here's what I want to show you first. So I'm going to work with, let's say Wicklow first. This is this green one. And if I just swatch it, you can see it's kind of a sheer wash, but it's got a lot of metallic in it. And if you kind of just dab around like this, you can kind of fill in the spaces with where you want the metallic to go. And it'll kind of just settle there. Or you can sweep and of course have it stay where we are. Are we a phone? Yes, you've got my laptop here and my Fizzone right here. So this is my setup every day, in case you didn't know. This goes above, up here. I have a ring light right here that sits above because I used to be a photographer, so I have a fancy ring light. And that is how I do it. This is how we do it. You're welcome. You're welcome for the motion sickness. Sorry, I know it's bad, guys. And I would really like for it to stop moving, but it takes a sec. Look at that. It's still... It's like it doesn't want to stop. I'm going to go back in the toilet. You know that's right. Like, the thing isn't even moving. It's just like the screen is. That's so weird. It's like just barely jiggling. It's probably, it does this digital like zoom. Okay, you guys, close your eyes. Here we go. It does like this digital zoom thing that's really weird. And like when it can't figure it out, it just sits there and it moves. And it's annoying. So let me see if trying to adjust it again to where it knows it's horizontal. Let me get it to stop. We're going to see. Did you go back in the toilet, BZ? Are you back in the toilet now? And I'm going to make you real dizzy by making this really off kilter. And I'm going to zoom in like this. Okay. I hope that this helps. Okay, so you can see what that looks like. I'm going to hit it with the heat gun so you can watch the sparkle come to life. And so when I say it's sheer, when you first put it on, it does have a colored tint to it. Oh my goodness. It does have a colored tint to it, but it's sheer in the sense that it's not like a thick covering color. And so then when it dries like this, you can see it's got the sparkle that reflects over the top. So when you're looking at it, it almost looks like you can't see the paper through it. See, BZ says, answering work emails and looking for Dramamine. You might need something stronger than Dramamine, my friend. Covering color. So there you go. You can kind of see that. Ta-da! All right. So, and I'll show you what it looks like if you just sweep it to the side instead of doing what I just did. So. There. So you can see it's got like a teal base and just this glowing green gold metallic. And of course, you can use various techniques for what you're trying to do based on, you know, the effect you're trying to get. So you may not want something thick like this. You may want something that is just a touch of this sparkle here. Hopefully you can see that. Gold. I like the way you think. Gold. Okay. Now, something that I like to do, and you see this a lot in my work, especially when the one we started doing last week looks like this, and you've got a lot of these vintagey looking tones here, is what I like to do is have a base color laid down and then dried, and then I go over it again with some pigment and then some of that metallic. So you're like, I don't think. I like the way you think. I don't think. Okay, sure. Maybe that's the key to life, is not thinking. I like the way you think and don't think then. So I'm going to grab some of this sepia color. Sepia. I've always said sepia, but then I started hearing people on Instagram say sepia. And I was like, oh, maybe I've been saying it wrong the whole time. So then I started saying sepia. I've also heard sepia. I don't know. I don't care. You guys know what I mean. This brown. And then I'm going to grab some sap green for that second brown spot here, just to get a little mixture in there. So you can kind of see when you're blending two colors. Thanks, Beezy. I appreciate that, that pronunciation recommendation. Why are you so cool? All right, so we've got our poopy brown and our pukey poopy brown. And we're going to take this brown. And what I'm going to do is actually get it wet first. So we do the wet on wet. And this kind of sucks because this paper sucks. So it's going to start to like pull up some of this color. But it is what it is. And I'm going to take some more of that sepia, whatever. Beesia. And I'm going to drop some of that color in there. And then I'm going to grab the Wicklow. I'm going to drop it in at the top. And then grab some water and kind of just mix them in at the center. And what this does is it allows it to kind of gradient into each other and create more of a minimal sparkle, which this paper really sucks because it's still pulling up that color, which I hate. Whatever, I'm not bitter. All right, let's get that dried. I'm trying to get it to where this heat gun doesn't keep being the thing in focus. Look, sepia. It's not hard. That's what she said. I'm saying. I'm so proud of myself. Okay. Now, I'm going to bring this in closer so you can see. But do you see how you've got this nice gradient of metallic down into the poopy brown, the beesy brown. Ooh, I like that beesy brown. And so you've got kind of just this gradient that looks really nice. And that's similar to what we had started to do here, but I decided I wanted the whole thing kind of shimmery, but you can see the gradients that go up. Oh, go tell your mom. I was with her last night anyway. She ain't gonna kill. And so this will, doing it like this with this method will create less of a bam in your face. Oh, Lord have mercy. Lordy, Lordy. Your mama's 40. Actually, she's probably a lot older than that because I think you said the other day you're 36. So you can see like this one's really metallic, really shiny, whereas this one has less of that bam in your face metallic, but it's got that reflective quality to it that's really pretty. She's 62. My mom is 68. My dad's about to be 79 and she's gonna be 69 this year. Say it so I don't have to. All right, so now you can see these are very similar in color because we put brown and green here and Wicklow is green. So here, instead of doing the wet on wet, say it so I don't have to. Thanks, Beezy. I'm going to do the wet on dry. And the way that's going to work is I'm going to start with the SEPIA Beezy Brown. And I'm going to go around kind of like this. And I'm going to go in with the Wicklow. And I'm going to start painting it like this. And I'm going to just kind of start dabbing it into that sepia. Now, you can leave it like this and it's going to be crazy. I could be your mama. I'm 67. Like this. Yeah, I could be your daughter. I'm 42. And you could then start to tilt your paper if you wanted to get more of a mixture with it. But for me, I like working with the gradients. The gradients make me happy. So we're going to just do it like this. And this is going to give you more of that bam metallic look while still giving you that gradient. Like this. Okay, so see the difference? See the difference. Okay. So these are more, or this method is going to get you a really bright and vibrant metallic. This is going to get you a more subtle metallic reflective quality to it. So just keep that in mind. Another thing that you can do, which I tend to do quite a bit, is if you're putting down a color like this and you keep it pretty wet at the bottom, let's say something like that, then you can take that Wicklow and just kind of drop it in, and it'll kind of swirl around in there somehow, some way, and I just dry it and see what happens. Sometimes the color blends in because it floats at different heights in the water that it's in, and sometimes it'll sink to the bottom, sometimes it'll float at the top, and you kind of end up with an interesting mixture of what it ends up drying and looking like. It's less controlled, but I also think it creates a kind of an unexpected outcome that can be interesting in the work. There you go. Oops. I can hold it in a way that you guys can see it without burning everything. There we go. So you can see you have one area that's kind of bam reflective, and then you have it kind of fade into this more reflective than obvious metallic. And then of course you've got your brown, your Beezy brown right in there. So just a couple of different ways to show you how to work with that as it relates to your painting. So another way I want to show you how you can work with this is through calligraphy. So a lot of people use ink. I too use ink, but you can also use your watercolor, which is awesome. So essentially, you just take your pen and nib, BZ, get your mind out the gutter. And I just kind of paint both sides like this. And sometimes it takes a little bit more water than that to get it flowing. So I'll just dip it into the water jar, and then there we go. You can see it starts to do that. And so I'll write, let me turn this here. I'll write, busy. Look how fancy. Might need a little bit more pigment on there. Beezy feels so special and picked on this morning. Can't even do my E's correctly. I apparently didn't warm up my calligraphy hand, but you get the idea. And then dry it. There we go. So you can see you can use it as calligraphy ink if you desire. Another thing you can do with it, which I do quite often, I don't necessarily use it with this, but you can use it to doodle on top of things like this. So let's say you wanted to doodle a flower. You could do something like this on top of a watercolor, and doing that. I am worse at. Hi, Feral Mom. I didn't know you were here. Letty! Letty's here too. I didn't know you were here too. Okay, shoot, I got my peeps up in here. Yeah, if I warm up, I feel like I can do it, but not very well. Yeah, I'm already out of ink or water. Isn't it so pretty? All right, so dry that off. The other thing you can do is grab a liner brush. This one I suck at, but I'm gonna go for it. This is called the X Liner 20 brush. This is from Hobby Lobby. Nobody needs to start any Hobby Lobby drama today. By the way, I don't think any Hobby Lobby drama starters are on here today. But you can use this to create fine lines in your work, to bring some reflection into certain areas of your work. Oh, it was better that you did, Lori. And so let's say you're drawing a flower. I'm just going to do kind of this quick little flower deal here. It's not the greatest, but it will do. Drop just a little more color in there. Hit it with the heat gun. Okay. So then you could use something like this liner brush to go into that metallic, and then you could draw little metallic accents into your florals. I usually have another brush I use. I don't know why I grabbed this one and not that one, but you get the idea. And then I would just say, grab this one. I need that brush for nail art. I know. I don't even do my nails anymore, boo. I just don't care. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm going to grab this and just add like a couple little dots in the center. Dink, 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 dink. Probably not the greatest color combination for a flower, but again, just showing you how you can use these in your day-to-day. There we go. All right, I'll bring that in close so you can see it. Dun, 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 dun. I feel like the light isn't... Oh, there it goes. I was like, the light isn't catching it. Lindsay says, what's for lunch? Girl, I don't even know, but I'm already hungry. Okay. So I think this pretty much covers all the different ways that I like to use reflective metallic watercolors in my work. I'm sure there are about 50 billion other ways you could do that, but these are kind of all the methods I tend to work with. So with that being said, do we want a little demonstration? Maybe. I'll wait. I'll wait. It's getting hot in here. Oh, my fan never turned on. So who turned off my fan? Now let's try it. There we go. That's why it never turned on. Irvina says, yes! Sounds good, girlfriend. So last weekend, I'm going to make you guys real dizzy again for a second. I had Lindsay from Artistic Isle Watercolor happen to get on when I was unboxing my package that I had just gotten from her. And there we go. And so I ended up really excited that she was on because she was able to like answer questions and talk about things. And so she was able to give me a coupon code for you guys if you decide that you want to purchase any of her metallics or any of her mineral watercolors for that matter, because you can see not all of the ones that I own are metallics, but her metallics are my absolute favorite. I do not get any kickbacks from this. I am not an affiliate. She is just somebody that I have purchased from since 2019. I love her stuff. So should you decide that you would like to visit her website and, you know, check out her watercolors, artisticisle.com. Let me get there. There we go. artisticisle.com. And the discount code is FloridaGen10. So FloridaGen10. Again, I don't get anything from that. So please don't think that I am pushing this because I get some sort of kickback, because I do not. Okay. I really hate this paper. So I'm going to go back, and I think, you guys, I'll show you in this, our little travel journal. Hooray. Okay, so I'm actually going to just separate this a little bit into two sides. So I'll start by putting this here just so I have a nice clean line on that side. I'll get another one and put this, let's say, about right here. It may not be perfect. It doesn't need to be. And grab another one. Put it right here at the bottom. Again, just want that nice, crisp, framed edge. And again, right here, same thing. Okay, I know I said it doesn't matter, but it really bothers me when it's crooked and I can like obviously tell. So let me just do that and that. Okay. There we go. There we go. All right, where is my clippy? Let me grab this one. Hi, Phoebes. What you doing, donkey? She's a silly girl. All right. So I'm just going to use a clip to hold this down. That way the water doesn't buckle as much. Yes, I found it on TikTok, actually. So it's in my showcase now. It's a great way if you are looking to get into trying Arches watercolor paper. It's a great way to affordably try it. And it comes with 15 sheets. It's $30.99. But personally, I would just do it like this because you can get way more out of it. But like I said, I think it's nice because it's a great way to get to try Arches paper without having to buy the regular sized Arches paper, which is pretty pricey, as you know. So, all right, let me do this. Okay, I think I'm ready. So let me grab a brush. I'm just going to grab this guy. This is the Neptune number 14. Sorry, I got to try to keep this where you guys can actually see it. Woo. Just going to get this wet and going to wet the paper. As always, I always wet with a clear, well, it's supposed to be clean water, but it's not. It's got shimmer floating all over it right now. And then I let that sit for a second, and then I'm going to add another layer because this first layer is really just allowing the water to get into the fibers of the paper, and that's going to absorb at different rates at first. So give it just a sec, and then we're going to let it, we're going to give it another one, and then that sheen is going to sit on top of the paper really nicely, and then we can start doing our wash, which I'm thinking I might go for like phthalo turquoise and garbage purple, which those of you who don't know, because Irvina, you're a new name for me to see in the chat. I don't know if you've ever been on my lives before, but garbage purple is actually carbazole purple by Daniel Smith. And I call it garbage purple because every time I see this word, I see carb, but the C, because it's so small, looks like a G to me, and it makes me think of garbage. I think it says garbage. So in my mind, it's garbage purple. So I call it garbage purple. You're a beginner? Okay, shoot, girl. You came to the right place then. I make stuff that looks really complicated that's not. I'm sure everybody says that about their stuff, though. Okay. So I put a little too much water on here. That's okay. I'm just working it into the paper. I'm going to pick up some of that excess water with my brush. And I'll show you what the sheen on that paper should look like. See how nice and even it is? That's what you want it to look like. So I'm going to take, I'll just use this little guy, my number 8 Princeton Heritage. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab my phthalo turquoise, which is right here. And I think what I'll do is just kind of back and forth like this at first. And then I'll grab my garbage purple, which is this. Kind of just do the same thing. And I don't know, I was gonna just do those colors, but I'm kind of feeling like I want some yellow, maybe some orange-ish yellow. So I'm gonna take quinacridone yellow, or gold, quinacridone gold. And we'll just add some of that here, and here, and here, and here. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna bring this in so you can see it, is we're gonna tilt the paper like this. And when we do that, you can see all those little fingers start to reach towards the bottom of the paper and start to blend together. And then what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it, and now it's going to go this way. Love watching how it just kind of reaches that way. It's mesmerizing, really. And if you need to, you can just grab a paper towel, get some of that. I'm going to rotate it again, and it's going to go this way. And I'm going to rotate it again. And it's going to go this way. I really want to get these blended well. So I'm going to give this a little extra time. There we go. And then you see this little white spot there I don't want. So I'm going to just use whatever's left over here to kind of go over here. And you can see some clear water is actually starting to make its way over here. So I'm going to take that and go back like this to try to get that pigmented again. Sorry, I don't know if you can see that. There we go. Okay, so we've got that. And if you look at it, you can see that this is still pretty dark up here. This is lightened up a bit down here. So while it is still wet, I'm going to grab some more of that garbage purple and just kind of add some color down here with it. And I want some more of that phthalo turquoise right here. Be a little darker, maybe a little bit more here. I don't really mind so much the center, so I'm just going to tilt this up a little bit. That way those harsher lines get blended. And then I'll just tilt it downward. And then I'll just tilt it to the side. I don't really need to tilt it to the other side just because this is already, I'm happy with that. Okay, so now I'm going to use my heat gun to dry it, and we will get started on the next part of the process. If you can never get yours to look like this, it's probably because you're not using Arches. Are you using Arches? Yeah. Yeah, you're probably not going to get this kind of results unless you're using Arches. And the reason is because Arches is 100% cotton paper. The others are not 100% cotton, so they have different fillers in them, and so they dry a lot faster. And because they dry faster, you end up with more blooms in your washes, and they end up not being quite as smooth with these transitions, and you have to work faster. They don't dry evenly. I've never heard of Meeden before. I'll have to look at it and see. But like I can tell you from something like this, for example, this is just the Fabriano Master's Touch from Hobby Lobby. First of all, let me get it wet so you can see it. I'm gonna give it just a second. You can see it gets a nice sheen on it at first. So no problems there at first. Gonna give it just a second. You can tell this is already drying here and here. I'm gonna hold it so it doesn't buckle quite as much. And let's wet it one more time. I'm just continuing to go around to make sure that any parts that are drying really quickly are staying wet, which unfortunately it is drying really quickly, but you can see what the edges look like and what that sheen looks like. But even the edges here are already drying, which is frustrating. I'm gonna add just a little bit more water. Usually if I'm doing something like this on this paper, I'm gonna like basically pool the water a little bit more while I'm getting my colors ready, just to try to keep it dry or wet a little bit longer. Okay, so then let's take that same, so you can see what that looks like here. Great too. I think I'm not getting it wet enough though. Yeah, there's kind of a happy medium with getting it wet. It needs to have a nice even sheen, because if it's too wet, it puddles, which you see how it's puddling at the bottom right there? That is not what you want, but with a paper like this, you can't help it, because if you look up there, do you see how it's already fading right here because it's drying? So it doesn't have a crisp edge right here anymore. So it's kind of frustrating. All right, so then let's say we do the same thing here. And get the garbage violet. And the quinacridone gold. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way because I don't want it to get messed up, but I'm going to go ahead and tilt it this way. All right, do you see how that is already pooling down the center? But we are still getting those nice reaching fingers. And then I'm going to turn it and go to the side like this. Again, I'm going to have my paper towel ready. Now this is already dry, so this isn't going to blend anymore. I'll show you what that looks like. You see how it's not wet anymore in that yellow spot? And then let's bring it down here. This is also already dry, so that's not going to blend anymore, and neither is that. And then we'll go this side. Just get over it. I mean, like I said, this little travel one, I feel like is a good deal for how much you can get out of it. Just because it's 15 pages doesn't mean you can't get 30 out of it. if not more. Okay, so now let's try this one. By the way, I'm not saying this is bad. It's just not Arches. And I'm not saying that this wash looks bad by any means. It's just different. So it depends on what you're wanting. Like, I would totally use this as an abstract background for sure. Okay. So, nothing wrong with this. Just mind you that, okay? Nothing wrong with this whatsoever. It's just not this. I like this. I like this. They're just two different methods. This is Fabriano paper. Jill's here. I like you too, Jill. How are you this morning? Irvina says, this is a great demonstration. Many other artists don't take the time to explain these differences. I'm not many other artists, don't you know? I take people's flowers, like Jill's. Jill is my TikTok romance. So this is Fabriano. Yeah, Arches it is. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with this. This is just not going to give you the same wash results that something like this is going to give you. And I mean, this one does look a little dirtier if you are wanting to, like, you know, compare color-wise. But it's not because it's dirtier. It's that it blends more because it stays wetter for longer. Jill, it stays wetter for longer. Yeah. But this one, you have the hot spots in the yellow because those areas dried too fast. Jill stays wetter for longer. Oh, yeah. So, hopefully that was helpful. And like I said, they're different. There's nothing wrong with this. I do demonstrations on this just about every day. But because I came across this, I wanted to do it on this one today to inspire those of you that would like to try Arches, to show you how you can use this if you so desire. So, you going to show us without tape? No. I gotta bind it somehow. Okay, so for this one, I'm thinking just like, there's two ways we can do this. So you guys tell me what you want to see. You are late to the game, boo. So late. We can go abstract, or we can go floral, or we could go floral abstract. What do you want to see? Abstract, vote number 1. Irvina, what do you want to see? And I should probably show her some of my stuff so that way she has an idea. These are considered abstracts. And this is considered floral. Abstract it is. I get tired of florals, so. Don't you? Don't you? I'm obsessed. I didn't think I was going to love this one, but oh my. Oh my. Okay. Let me take a look at my abstracts and decide what I want to do. Speaking of abstracts, you guys, the first one, I'm guessing you meant this one. Oh, Bethany's here. Hey, Bethany. Yeah, so I did this one on last Thursdays, I think it was, and I loved it. We were going to do this to it, but every time I came back to my desk for the rest of the day, like in my office, I would glance over and see this, and I just loved it too much to do anything else to it. So I made a sister piece and did to it what I was going to do to this. So now I have two. Okay, show then. So real quick, I discovered that for some reason I didn't think about this before last Friday, that I have this watercolor pencil in white, and so I can actually draw for you guys to see the lines that I want to do. So let's do some of that. I'm gonna just sharpen it. All right, so let's do some abstracts. Kind of thinking I want some circles, or wannabe circles. Okay, boo-boo. Because I feel like I've been doing a lot of this whole crisscross applesauce is what I call it. These little crisscross apple. Or do you guys want to see the crisscross applesauces? It's funny. I wanted to post this one and with a caption that says, "Tell me you create art to Coldplay's Moon Music album without telling me that you create art to Coldplay's Moon Music album." I can do both. Actually, I did do both recently. What did I do? Oh, it was on my mom's. Yeah, I gave that one to my mom. Yep, let's do both. All right, so here's how I started. Super easy. I like to create the movement. Maybe we can go a little side to side this time. I like to just create the movement like this. And then I'll start here and kind of just overlap like that. And then I'll start maybe with a circle that starts as a half like that. And I actually have a couple different ways I usually make circles depending on the size of what I'm going for. Normally it's a little bit bigger, but I think I could use this. So I'll just use this. Let's maybe bring in one right here. That's pretty crappy, but whatever. Actually, let's go with a different size too. We can go like this. Maybe one up here. And I feel like we need one kind of in the middle too. Let me find a different one. I just find anything that's a circle, you guys, and I just go to town. That's what she said. Okay. And then maybe let's just add one to the corner here for good measure. All right, so then from here, let's add maybe another side like that, and then maybe one more on the side like this. Okay, I think we've got some stuff going there, although I don't like that this is touching, so maybe we do that. And because this is watercolor, we can just add water and blah, 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 blah. I just bought the paper and foil. Now I'm committed. You're gonna love it. Love it. I can't wait. Okay, Charlene. I usually do like a paint along sort of situation. I don't have my next one scheduled yet, but I would love it if you would join the next one. They're usually going to be on a Friday night, and it's usually at 7:30 Eastern time. So if you can join one of those. I would love it if you would. So just consider that, okay? Now, I need to go change out my water really quick because we did all that metallic, and so I have a bunch of metallic floating around in here, and I need some non-metallic water. So talk amongst yourselves, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have returned. You're welcome. And it's free, Charlene. It's free. Good morning, Smile. We are fantastic. We are having a good time this morning. So yes, it's completely free. Yeah, JRW, her name is Jill. Feral Mom, her name is Lori. They have been to them. They can attest. All right, let me get a smaller brush here. Okay, this is my number 6 Princeton Heritage. So here's what I typically start out by doing. I like to pick which ones I want to make slightly darker, and I do what I call either like glazing or the stained glass method. I would love to show you guys without the glare of this, what this looks like up close. So to do that, I have to make you a little bit sick. So I'm going to make you guys a little bit sick. I'm so sorry. Okay, now when I move this, sometimes it goes a little crazy. So let's hope that that doesn't happen. Okay. There we go. All right. So when I talk about doing this whole glazing method or this whole stained glass method, all I'm really doing is taking some water. This is clean water. And I am going to wet inside this shape that we've created here with this white watercolor brush, or I'm sorry, pencil. And as you can see, when it does get wet, it is going to kind of erase what we've done here with the circle. But that is okay. Have no fear. We can always get it back. Just redraw it. Okay. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a complementing color to really draw it out. And the way I do that is I decide if I want it to be a little bit more green, be a little bit more yellow, be a little bit more turquoise, that sort of thing. So I usually for this like to start off with it being a little bit more yellow or a little bit more green or a little bit more teal because I am indecisive. So for this one, I'm going to start off with the quinacridone gold. And I'm just going to add a little bit of color to that area. And again, that's why we're doing the wet on wet technique, because it adds just a little bit of color glaze to it, like this. And what it does is it allows you to see through the color that you've added, like that, but it enhances what's currently already there. So like what's underneath it, you can see through and you don't lose the color that's already there. It just kind of enhances it. So there's that. Now I'm going to do the same thing to here. And so the first thing I'm going to do is get this wet like this. And this is kind of what I would consider first layer. And usually second layer is when I go in and I start to add reflective watercolors or multi-tones. For this, what I'll probably do is keep these not metallic, but make the circles metallic. So for this, what I'll do is take this turquoise that I have over here by Winsor & Newton. And I want to make sure it's not too heavy because it can get kind of heavy colored. And I'm just going to start dabbing it into that. And as you can see, as I bring that down, it's just going to give it a little bit more of a hint of that turquoise without covering what we already have there. Hopefully you guys can see that. I know the glare's there. I'm sorry. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. All right, let me go back to the chat. I miss how you drew the circles. Did you just trace something? Yep, I just pick up whatever I have around me. That is about the size of what I'm looking for, and I just trace around it. I'm going to hit this with the heat gun really quick and get it dry a bit. Okay, so when you look at this now, more opaque than bold, yes. I was going to say, so when you look at this now, you can see there's an obvious difference between the background and this little stripe here, which is exactly what we want. It's not covering the background. You can still see the background through it, the transitions and the background colors, but you're able to still tell that there's a difference between these colors here. So essentially what I do is I go through and I do that to this ribboning. So we'll just go ahead and keep going there. Again, we're doing the wet on wet technique, which is where you add just clear water first, and then you drop your pigment into it. If you drop your pigment first and you do the wet on dry technique, what'll happen, and this is, I'm not going to say it happens every time, but so far for me, it happens every time I do this. What happens is it'll leave a mark wherever you drop that that first bit of pigment, and you can't get it out, and it's annoying. So I just don't do it that way. Where is my orange pigment I just had? There it is. So I'm going to take this orange, just a little bit. Just make sure it's not too much. And I'm just going to glaze it with a little bit of orange. And then I'm going to take some more water, bring it here. You don't want to touch the top water to the bottom. Like, you don't want to connect these, because then the glaze that you put at the top is going to end up running with the glaze that you put on the bottom, and they could be two different colors, and you don't want that. So I'm going to add a little bit of that phthalo turquoise that we used in the background to this. So you're not really going to see much of a color difference, but you will see that there is maybe just a slightly darker tone of it. You know what I might actually do here, because I feel like it still looks too much like that, is actually grab some green, maybe that sap green, and bring that in instead of that orange. Like that. There we go. You are welcome. And then I'm going to go here. And again, I'm going to follow this line, because remember, this one was a mistake. And this one is interesting because the purple that's down here is up here now instead of the yellowish. So again, I'm going to just make sure that this is glazed with that water first. And then I'm going to take some of that violet, the garbage violet, and I'm going to put that over as the glaze. There we go. And then again here, I'm going to take this. And there we go with that. For this, I'm going to grab some Indian Yellow Deep. It's a bit more yellow than the quinacridone gold that I typically use, but I feel like it brightens these colors quite a bit. There we go. Trying to get some of these metal flakes out of here that are all over my desk getting into here. All right, let me dry it. All right. So I know it's looking a little boring, looking a little drab. I get it, you know. Okay, so the next step is going to be to start painting in these circles. But we need to bring back the areas that we just went over. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab the things that I used to make the circles. So smile. Is the watercolor pencil a wax or pigment? It's a pigment. These are the Derwent watercolor pencils, and this one is in Chinese white. So I used a Dixie cup for this one, or like a Dixie like cup. I don't think it's the actual Dixie cup brand, but there we go. This one I think was also the Dixie cup. There we go. Those are all good. And then this one was the inside of this tape roll. And so was this one. There we go. And I think I just kind of drew this one in here, but I'm going to draw it with this so I can see. Okay, there we go. Pretty sure I brought in this candle for something too, but whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, so now let's decide on these bubbles. So these bubbles we can do different colors with, or we can do the same colors with. My inclination is to kind of do different colors, but in kind of a different tone than what we did the other ones in. And so my first reaction is thinking maybe bringing in like olive green for all of them, and some maybe the Indian Yellow Deep, because we really only did that here. And these are probably going to get one more layer of color, FYI. Excuse me. Trying to decide, because I think bringing these to a purple is probably going to be a bit too much. But then again, a purple might not be bad. I'm trying to think of which metallics I'm going to use for it and then make that decision. So I think I'll go with, looking at my work over here and trying to decide, I think I'll go with maybe a, you know what, let's just drop some color in there first and see. So this is going to cover this entire thing because the bubble is technically going to be in front of this one, although we could put it behind if you wanted. And we might do that to some of them. But we're going to put this bubble in front. And you could leave this translucent if you want, which would be cool because you could see this part through it. Jen McPole's in the house. I think it will look good. Why are you my cheerleader? Why are you so good to me? Where is my sap green? You know what? I'll use this sap green over here, I think. Let me see. No, that one's too gritty. Hang on. Ooh, but Cascade green, guys. I forgot. Hey, Joe. Let's do some Cascade green and see what that kind of looks like. Oh, other Jen. I'm such a nerd. All right. So we'll put in a little bit of Cascade green. And then we'll add just a little bit of this Indian Yellow Deep to green it up just a little bit. And when we do it this way, we can force that darker pigment to the edge, which makes it look more like a bubble, which is kind of cool. Like a sphere. Okay, let's try that so you can see what I'm talking about. Thank you, Smile. Okay, so we're going to do the other bubbles first. Again, I know that this doesn't look like fantastic yet, but just wait. You got to trust the process. I know so many Jens. Trust the process. I think I want this one to go behind this little twisty right here, so I'm not going to paint this one in completely. So we'll do this. Maybe I'll bring in this pukey green. I know I typically don't like the pukey green, but it does have a nice yellow quality. It does a nice job here. Okay, let's do this one. You know, maybe I want all of them to be the pukey green, because that's really a good base for the metallics. This one's called Rich Green Gold. I don't know. I like the oily green. I get my foul today. Squee. Foul. Wait, Lori, did you order chickens? What is it with my chicken people? I have so many chicken people. Yet I have not gotten any Swifties. Where are my Swifties? I have chicken people. I know. Charlene says, so cool. I only paint chickens. I apparently attract chicken people. And no Swifties. You have to be devoted to own chickens. This is true. We are getting some later this season, borrowing them from the farm. Oh. Oh, your son is a huge Swiftie. That's so cute. My son is a huge Swiftie too, but he's also only almost 8. So I think once he grows up a little bit, he may change his mind. Because, you know, it's not cool to be a Swiftie sometimes if you're a boy. But he also marches to the beat of his own drum, so what do I know? But every time we get in the car, he only wants to listen to Taylor. And every morning, him and my daughter that's immediately older than him, we have what we call our school anthem. So every morning we get in the car, he wants his school anthem, and so does she. And that would be Blank Space. And we roll down the windows on the van and we play it. But then, on the last day of school, on the way to school, we play Cruel Summer. And then on the way home from school, on the last day of school, we play Cruel Summer. And I can usually be found replacing as many words as I can in every song with a term for my dog, which is usually floofer, fluffer, fluffer nutter, girl. Yeah. Let's see here. You have so much patience. I just wanted to throw some paint on a paper and have it look like that. Yeah. Oh, you meant foil. I was like, foul. You mean like birds? Chickens? He is 31. LMAO. Bethany says, only thing I have of Taylor's is Wounder Structure Enchanted Red Perfume. Yeah, I never got into like perfumes because they usually make me wheeze. But I didn't realize how big of a Swiftie I was until she made Folklore and then Evermore, which I liked, but then when she came out with which album was it? When she came out with Midnights and then she went on tour and I found out I couldn't get tickets, I was like, okay, I need to get tickets somehow. And then I couldn't get tickets. I was like, when did I turn into a Swiftie like this? I did not know that I was a Swiftie like this. And I've been a Swiftie ever since. Now, I don't follow her every location or anything like that, and I don't buy every version of every single vinyl she releases. But I do love me some Swift. And I play her songs and sing to them on my piano / keyboard thingy pretty regularly. Lori, I don't know what to say about that, but I might be mad at you now. Because we tried to get tickets. 6 of us tried to get tickets on multiple occasions to multiple shows. We got waitlisted every single time. We did not get to go. For a year and a half, we tried. We did not get to go. So I guess it just wasn't in the cards. But you know what? I like to think Taylor she has something better waiting for me. Maybe I'll be sick in a hospital someday and she'll come visit me. but I don't know. I just don't know. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I saw a bunch of that stuff in the news. Bethany says, lol, words are hard. Wonderstruck, enchanted. That's hysterical. All right, so again, I know this doesn't look like much, but we're trusting the process. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a Taylor can do no wrong kind of person. I hated that she dated Maddie Healy. I hated Maddie Healy. We all hated Maddie Healy. But I do like the rawness of the poetic nature of a lot of her newer lyrics and stuff. You're deep, and I feel deeply. Why am I so stupid? Stupidly cool. Thank you, smile. Okay, Bethany, let me tell you something about some perfume that I do have. Like the day before my wedding, I realized I didn't have a perfume to get married. So I stupidly went and bought Coco Chanel Mademoiselle. It was like an $80 bottle of perfume. So I bought it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is great, blah, blah, blah. Well, because it was so expensive, I wanted to, you know, treat it preciously. I still have it. My husband and I are about to celebrate our 20-year anniversary, and it is rancid. But yeah. So, all right. Now, this is the part where we add the fun stuff before we finish with the metallics and all that stuff. So, I determined something yesterday. I noted that I had this bottle. Well, you know, I have this bottle, and I usually use the little, you know, whatever these things are called, the little twist on tops. But it turns out I can actually draw a pretty straight line if I just use this. Did you see that? Did you see that? Amazing. Now, I don't know how easy it's going to be to draw all of this. Let me see if I can just remove that so I don't put my hand in it. But I figured I'd give that a try today and see how that goes. See where that gets me. So we're going to try that. Now, I can't guarantee this is going to be smooth, but we're going to attempt. Okay. 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 I'll tell you something else now. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Okay. Now, if you don't get it, sorry, if you don't get it exactly on the white line like here, don't worry about it. It is what it is. We'll deal with it another time. All right, let's do this. Okay. Freaking dog hairs. Okay. Dang it. Okay. No, it's got a big drip on it. That's what she said. Okay, hang on. I need just an itty bitty little stick of some sort that apparently I don't have, so let's just do this. There. Okay, now let's do this one. I'm sorry if you can't see this, guys. This is a very, oh, no, I can't. Okay, there we go. It's like a surgical process. I could totally be a surgeon. Not. Okay. There we go. There we go. Now, let me just wipe this off. I feel like there's something down in there I need to gouge out. Okay, let's see here. This is some stuff. I will answer questions. 1 second. Hey, gosh, why is my there? Okay. Pretty darn good. It is what it is my new mantra. I love it, Jen. That has been my mantra for years. I blame my mom in a good way. How long does it take to get tacky? It depends how thick you put it on. But usually, I mean, I usually speed it up with my heat gun. So I would say minutes. You can see some of it's already dry. Like when it goes clear, it's dry. Although I have had some take an hour when I don't use a heat gun. Charlene says, what is the name of that stuff again, please? This is called adhesive sizing, although the bottle says adhesive size. And it is by Speedball. It has this little Mona Lisa thing on it. I don't know why. But metal leaf adhesive size. I have tried to add this to my showcase with the metal, the gold leaf, but it's nowhere to be found. So I just buy this on Amazon. Maybe a little more on the green circle in the middle. No, that's already dry. That's why it looks like that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this with the heat gun, and we will go from there. Now, actually, one thing really quick. If you notice areas that are a little too blobby, like I just noticed this one right here, you can take a Q-tip, and the Q-tip will actually absorb a lot of that and make it flatter, which is kind of what you want, because you don't want something big and blobby, because it will stay sticky forever and it will eventually tear up what you've got going on here with if you were to stack it with other paintings on top of it. So I'm going to just kind of grab some of this while I'm at it over here to try to just soak up some of that extra so I don't have a big raised area. You gotta be careful though, because the layer on the bottom may already be drying and you don't want to accidentally lift that up. There. Do this too. Okay. Now, let's do that. Also, if you are using a heat gun, you don't want to get too close to this, because what will happen is if it gets too hot, it'll start to bubble and then it'll get crispy, and then it kind of ruins your application because the metal leaf won't stick to it appropriately. Okay, so I'm going to turn this way so you can see. There's still a little bit white in there and in there, but some of this other stuff that looks white is actually just the watercolor pencil. No, because they don't come off in the adhesive sizing, because the adhesive sizing that you're removing is still wet. It's not sticky yet. It's almost done. Right there. Also, if you have done this and you're not totally sure if this is dry, you can just take your finger and just barely tap, and you can see if it comes off and does that, then it wasn't totally dry yet. So I would just continue to dry that. This might have a little bit of stick still on the paper from underneath it. So we're just going to go ahead and go with that. And if for whatever reason, whatever I just hit with my finger took all of it off, we can always just add a little bit more, another little dot. All right, so let me remove or turn off my fan. And I'm going to just bring this up a little bit. So sorry if this makes you guys a little bit sick. Thanks, Jill. And so this is what metal leaf looks like. Just comes in a package. A little bit of this goes a long way. I have some sheets like this that are a little crinkly, but I don't mind. And I keep it in just a little bucket. I don't know what I did with the lid, but the way this works, and I'm going to pull it out of here so that you can do this too, is they come, let me do this, they come with these sheets on them, and I actually have silver in here as well, so let me put those off to the side so I don't actually accidentally get silver in here, because I'm going to be using gold because I prefer gold. Use whatever color you want though. Okay, so they have these papers between them. And what I like to do is start with a sheet like this. And there are several ways to do this. You know, there's always more than one way to do something. And if you want a nice flat application, you can start by just taking this, waiting for it to stick, and then just waiting for it to fall. Then I take this, put it on top, and just lay it down. Okay, now there's going to be some extra off to the side here. So I'm just going to pull this up in whatever sheet that I can. And I'm going to use that same flat sheet to apply to whatever is not covered, because there's only a little bit here that I didn't get covered with that sheet. But this is still flat enough for me to be able to use. Whoops. So then this over here also has a nice sheet to it that I can grab. I'm going to do this, and apparently I didn't push it down well enough here. Let me do that. And I'm going to grab this. And put this down here. There we go. Okay, so that's all down and covered. I'm going to take this again, and again, I'm just going to do circles like this. And by doing this, it allows me to push it down without tearing the gold and without scratching it. All right, so now I'm going to put this back in this little package. Oh, I use them for everything. Everything from resin to paint projects just like this. All right, so then from here, I have a soft bristle brush, just this one, that I use to start to but brush away the excess gold. So I do this in 2 stages. The first one is to just kind of get these larger pieces off, peeling kind of like a sunburn. And I put them back in here as I go. And this round is really just to get the bigger, looser pieces off. We're going to do another round in just a moment that is going to fine tune a lot of the application. So you'll see, like right here, this moves around because it's not sticking to anything. So what you have to do is use your brush at an angle to try to tear it like that, because the stuff is really fragile. And then you can use that to open it up like that. So again, I'm just going to continue doing that, working gently. If you're using a cheaper watercolor paper, sometimes, and I'm not saying that this is every cheaper watercolor paper, I'm talking more like Temu grade watercolor paper. Sometimes what will happen is you will wind up lifting your watercolor pigments off your paper by doing this process. You don't want to do that. So one thing too is that I noticed I have some adhesive sizing here and here that is not fully dry. So I want to just use my paper towel to remove that so that it doesn't get on my brush and then drag across my painting. So I'm just going to continue doing this. Again, getting these larger pieces off. And then I'm just going to pick this up. Honestly, I'm not sure. I've never done that before. I hesitate to seal anything that has watercolor because it can affect where the watercolor pigment is. I'm going to bring this up just a hair more so you can hopefully see it a little bit better as I do this process. I do too. Sorry, I really want you guys to see this process. You know what? I think I can put you back up and over now that we've done the regular part of that process. There we go. Hopefully that's good. Okay, so now what I do is I take this, I hold it over my bucket, and I start being a little bit more aggressive, because you'll see that you have these little areas where you just have like these little extra flakes around here that didn't break off. So that's when you need to start being a little bit more aggressive with your brush. But you don't want to be so aggressive that you're, ruining your painting, or using a brush that's hard bristled that will scratch your painting or scratch your foil. So you just have to put a little bit more elbow grease in it. And one thing I like to do is kind of just turn my brush at different angles to try to get stuff lifted and off where they need to be. And I do it over this so that it all just kind of falls back in there. And then one of the things Smile asked was what you use the extras for. A lot of the smaller stuff I'll use in resin. Yep, that's the idea, is looking like stained glass. Exactly. Okay, so this is looking good. I think I have just a couple little extras. I want to make sure I get moved off. Okay. All right. That looks good for now. Whoops. All right. So what I'm going to do now is just take what's left over here and scoop it back into my little bin and put that off to the side. And now I can turn this back on, my fan, because it gets so hot under here. You did it so close to the edge where it is bound. Are you going to be able to frame this? I don't want to. This is just my my sketchbook. So if I'm going to be making something that I want to frame, I'm typically not going to do it on a live. All right, so now you guys see it starting to come together. Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. We're going to start really filling in these guys. So I want the bubbles to be metallic. So what I'm going to do, thank you. What I'm going to do now is take my brush. This is the number 6 Princeton Heritage. And this is where I start doing more of the wet on dry. And I have all of these metallic pigments from Artistic Isle. I love them. Love, love, love. I got my order in over the weekend. And so I may bring in just a little piece of paper for swatching purposes. Just to see what I want to do with these bubbles. So I kind of like the vintagey tones, but I also like kind of the other ones. So I just want to kind of get a feel for what some of these might look like. So this one is really cool because it's like a black, it's not totally black, but it's got this brown, this is how it dries. And I also really liked, another new one I got was this glimmer. But again, it's not going to show up that way here. So what I'm thinking is, how am I going to really class these up, sass these up to make them look a little more vintagey, the bubbles themselves, and still bring in that those metallic tones that I want. And so as I'm thinking about these, oh, I just realized I didn't do that one, you guys. Why am I so stupid? Hang on. And this is why having those little extra bits is nice. Because when you do stupid stuff like this, you got extras. Bye, Jen! It's fine, smile. All right, let me grab my little thing here and just suck up a little bit of that. Got stickies. Alrighty, then I'm just going to grab a piece from in here. Let's see, this one looks promising. Oh no, it stuck to my finger. Alright, I'll put this here. Get off my finger. Alright, I'm just going to press that down. Bring this back in here. And ta-da! All better. Look at that, like less than a minute, right? Well, less than 2 minutes anyway. Okay, there we go. Bye, Jen McPole. All right, so here's what I'm thinking. Let's maybe try to play up some of the colors that are already in here and see what happens. So I'm going to start here. Let's go in. I'm still missing my sap green. Let me go back to my sap green because that was one I was digging for that I could not find. Because I saw Cascade green. I was like, ew, I forgot about the Cascade green. Okay, there's my rich green golds. There's a bunch of my other greens. There's my sap green. All right. There we go. Just got it on and almost under my fingernail. Okay. Okay. So let's grab some of that sap green. Might mix it with a little bit of sepia. Sepia. And let's start with some Wildsta. And it's just really extra watery. Gonna add a little bit more sepia up into here. And then I'm gonna grab some Indian Yellow Deep and let that mix in with the green like this. And then grab some more of that sepia. And now we are going to start adding the good stuff. So I'm going to start with this antiqued bronze that I have from Artistic Isle Watercolor. There we go. And then we'll go in with some of that Wicklow. And then some of this Bumblebee. I love this Bumblebee. It's so pretty. And what I'm trying to do is kind of shape it into where it comes to kind of a bright point. So it almost looks spherical. And then this is Eye of Newt. There we go. Nope, no fabric painting. Now I'm just going to dry it and we're going to see what we have and adjust from there. All right, so this is what that looks like. Real pretty. You are so welcome. Have a good rest of your Monday. All right, next up, let's do this guy right here. All right, this one, I'm gonna go in with that same sap green, but I'm also gonna add some perylene green to the bottom just to darken it up a bit. And then let's add which one of these do I want to do? Let's maybe go in with some of this Tahiti right here and add that maybe to the top right here. And we'll add this Emerald Coast to the bottom right here. All right, let's see what we get with that. Okay, so this is really pretty. However, I can see I'm about to show you some even better dimension, Irvina. I can still see this white watercolor through there, so I'm going to have to go over this one again and work on building that up. But what I want to do, because I know it's going on 11, and some of you have likely been watching me for a long time and really want to see this come together, but may not be able to. Here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to show you kind of one of the last steps in bringing some more dimension out in this. So we're going to bring in some more of that Indian yellow deep here. And this is where we do the wet on dry up here to really bring in some more of that stained glass look. And this is really going to help set it apart from that background. So I'm painting that all the way down, just like that. Now, if you wanted from here to keep that blue instead of green, you could bring in some more of that phthalo turquoise and blend together just like this. So now you can really see how that brings it apart and makes it pop. So I know we haven't done this one just yet, but let's do this section so you can see what that looks like. And before I really go to town on that, let me just lift that white from right there. Okay, so normally I would be going in with the wet on dry technique. So let me start by doing that here. And again, I want this to be a little bit more see-through. So let's do that. And then as we go down, we're going to add that garbage violet. And let's add just a little bit of that Indian yellow deep right here. And I'm going to grab some more of that violet and bring it in here where we lost some of it. And then bring that in over here. So you can see just how vibrant that becomes here. And then here in the center, I think what I'm going to do is actually bring in this same phthalo turquoise and really play up the blue in this that I would love to see. So I'm going to just bring in lots of this. Maybe even bring in some cobalt teal, which is just so dreamy and milky. Love it. And then I'm going to bring in one of my new colors that I got, which is Atlantis. And I'm just going to start dropping it in around here, like this. And then I'll bring in, you know what, I do have one watercolor that I made myself. And when I was talking to Lindsay, who is the owner of Artistic Isle, she says she's going to start making this color. So I gave her the pigment for me. But I really wanted like a deep sapphire peacock blue situation. So I made this one myself. Her recipes are much better and dreamier than mine. I am not at all in the market for making homemade, handmade watercolors, whatever. So I'm going to just add that there. And I'm going to bring in some more of this one and just continue kind of bringing those together. I'll move the paint, or I'll kind of bring this way to try to get it to move a little bit more. And then maybe towards the top, I'll bring in some of this one. This is called Milky Way, and it's like extra shimmery gold. All right, let's try it and see what we've got. You see that come into life in the center like that? It's so pretty. Now, I do feel like we still don't have this quite as colored as I would like for it to be. So I'll probably do another layer over that. And I think I want this to be blended a little bit better. So I'll probably just use some water over the top of it to blend it a little bit better. But let's do this one first. So I'm just going to wet this. Like this. And let's add that violet here. I'm just going to pull it all the way through, I think. Like that. And then I'm just going to take this and kind of move it upwards. And around. And just barely touch that there. Let's see what that does. All right. Thank you, Charlene. I try. I'm still not happy completely with the way this blended, but I'm just going to leave it alone for now. All right, let's move on back to this one so that I can try to get that white watercolor out of there. I don't know that it's wanting to come out, you guys. So we may just have to paint a dark over it again. We'll just bring in this really dark right here. And then I'm just going to wet this up here and let it blend and see what happens. All right, so while that's doing its thing, we're going to come back over here. I'm going to get this just a little bit wet. I was doing the wet on dry. I don't know why sometimes I just go back and forth. Bring this back over here so I have something to dab my brush on. And let's see here, for this one, I think I'm going to go in with some of this turquoise. And then grab that garbage purple, like this. And then let's use the Aloha Kai, because that's got some gold shimmer in it that's really pretty. And then I got this new purple one over here. I don't remember what it's called. It's called Amethyst. And let's drop that in right here. And then I like to give it kind of a break in between. So how about we do, I'm thinking, oh, you know what? Let's just do this Milky Way again. Kind of give it just a little bit of extra sparkly pizzazz. See what happens there. Oh, it's hot. Yes and no. So, it's interesting. I actually sometimes do paint on the pigment. It will come off, but you could also just not wipe it off and it'll stay on there. So it's interesting. All right. So, that's hot. All right. So I'm not, I like this, but I'm not sure about it yet. So I'm going to just leave it as it is. I'm going to come over here and try to work up some of that white out of there. There we go. And let's go ahead and just make this the wet on wet technique over here. And we're going to grab some of that garbage purple and we'll glaze that down to here. Then we'll add that phthalo turquoise and glaze that back up into there. There we go. Let me find something real quick. Where is thingy? So here's an example. It's not a very good one, but here's an example of where like I scratched through and painted on top of this, but I think I wiped the paint off. Let me see. I think I have another one. Yeah, this one. Where I painted on top of the gold foil. And so like I could wipe it off and it would come off just fine, or I could just leave it. Hopefully that helps. It's not going to absorb it like paper would, but you could also just leave it and it'll stay. Okay, so down here, I'm going to glaze this one. I'm going to grab that Indian Yellow Deep and get this one nice and yellowed. I'm going to grab that phthalo turquoise and get that nice and turquoised. Oops. Just turning it that way to get it to run a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right, let's do this one. And by the way, this one looks great, so I'm going to leave it the way that it is. And I think for this one, I really want it to stand out more. So I'm going to bring in the Indian Yellow Deep and glaze it with that. And then maybe on the bottom here, let me see what that looks like there. Maybe on the bottom there I'll go in with some of the sap green and let that do a little bleeding. Is that gold a watercolor? No, that's gold foil. Okay, there we go. Just tilt it this way to keep that perylene green further down there. And then I'm going to hit it with the heat gun just to keep it from going too far. Jill's back. What's up, girlfriend? All right, so then this one down here, I am just going to grab some of that phthalo turquoise like this and some of that garbage violet and put that here. So that'll be glazed like so. Okay, we are in the home stretch, you guys. I really wanted this to stand out more, and I think it didn't. That's all right. It's okay, I guess, you guys. All right, now let's do, how about this kind of burgundy color would be really nice. I know we don't have burgundy anywhere else, but go with me here. Burgundy with garbage violet and Veritas. Veritas is life. Oh, you can't see that here. Do you see how Veritas is life when I go like, no, you don't see. Veritas is life. Yeah, I don't want to enter the Walmart. The Walmart is not fun. It's like standing in line at an amusement park all day. There, you can sort of see it there. And then, while that's still wet, I'm going to grab that Milky Way again and drop it in the center, like that. Now look. Ooh. Ah. All right, let's try it. Make sure we like it. Oh my goodness, you guys. You gotta watch this come to life. I think I missed a comment. Did somebody want to know what color this was? Irvina says, I'm learning so much. Good. That's what I like to hear. Let me go back here. Oh, Donna said, is that gold a watercolor? What brand? No, that's the foil. No, it's a foil. Now, I do foil pretty regularly. Here's some foil I did last week on a live. That's its sister piece. Here's one I did last week on a live as well. I do foil all the time. if you look right here, I have a link to my website where I post replays. My goal is to have all my replays from up until I think last week up on my site this week. So you can learn all about that there. It's all free, by the way. I'm just an unemployed freeloader who appreciates tips, you know. So if you want to support me, feel free to go there and buy a print of the stuff that we've done together. It's cheap. It's like $32 for a 10 by 10 and $36 for a 12 by 12. Have you ever tried the stamp print gold that you heat on? Yes, I have done a lot of it. It's pretty. Love it. I also have the foil quill so I can hand draw it. Okay. Now, next, I'm going to do this one. And this one, let's see here. Got to make this one real good, you guys. So we have burgundy, we have purplish blue, we have brown, we have green. What color could we be missing? Maybe orange, but you know, I just don't love orange on this, but maybe I could. Maybe I could learn to love orange. If you guys know who Old Greg is. With the light playing off your seaweed. All right, so we've got this, and I guess we'll start with Tahiti, because Tahiti is always a good one. And we'll do some more Tahiti because, you know, trying to cover it up. And we'll do some lightning. Lightning is a nice rose gold, but it apparently also just looks like orange on this. So let's try something else. Let's try, I'm trying to see what else I have over here. I'm gonna try the black one because I really want to try the black one. Kind of looks like Halloween, but it's gonna be more brown when it dries, I think. I hope. Ooh, Spellbook. Why didn't I think that one? This one is like a really subtle shimmer. Let's try that. And then we'll try Tahiti in there again because I don't really see any of the flakes left over. All right, let's see what that looks like. Kind of just going to blow it from the sides. Oh dear. And see what I can get in terms of mixing as it dries. Ooh, yeah. Okay, sure. Look at that. Charlene, thank you so much. I hope to see you tomorrow as well. I will post what this looks like when I'm all done so you can at least have the satisfaction in seeing what it looks like later on. But I hope you have a fabulous day today. And I hope to see you tomorrow, boo thing. Peace. Trying to decide on this one now. I think we're just going to go with Kula. The side is kind of just turned into like all green. So why not? All right, now this one's good. But this needs work because I don't like how these are blending into each other. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to glaze it with phthalo turquoise. Help set it aside from the green above. Just a hair. Ugh, why does my live do this? It's like, oh, you've been inactive. Really? Because I'm here. I have some fun chicken stamps that might be fun to put gold on a fun painting like this. Well, you should try that. Because you know, I attract the chicken people. Chicken people like chicken things. Know what I'm saying? Chicken! Here we go. I'm going to do that instead. I'll do that one with the Wicklow. Oh, wait. I think I did Kula for that. Whatever. Okay. Now, this one I feel like still needs a little bit of work because it's looking like the background still. So I'm just going to glaze it with quinacridone gold. And I think that looks good. And I actually think all this looks good. The only thing I don't like is this white right here that I said we were going to deal with later. There are a couple ways to deal with it, and the one that I would like to try first is simply erasing it and hoping that I don't accidentally pull up what's going on underneath it, you know, which is the watercolor pigment itself. I'd say that's good enough. You can't really see it. I can still see some of the white there, but I'm not going to touch it. Now, that being said, I have this. This is a white gel pen by ZSCM. Lori turned me on to these. They are amazing. And so from here, what I would do is just start doodling with the white. So I'm going to try to tie that in to right here. So I'm going to just go off to the side here to get that started. And I'm going to just kind of make some white doodles. So for this, usually what I do is make kind of a thicker white line in some areas and then thinner in others, and just kind of see what comes of it. You may have to let it dry between the first line that you do and subsequent lines, because the roller ball will just kind of move the white ink around. I have to pull all that stuff back out. Oh yeah, me too. But it's worth it. So a lot of times what I'll do with these is kind of something similar to the other lines and just kind of make them long and squiggly, but I'll try to connect them some way, kind of like this. They almost look like a little helix of sorts. I'll go back in and do the line thing in a minute when they're a little more dry on the edges. Kind of helps bring in some movement. Okay, so then I'll just start here. Like that. Maybe bring this out like that and back in. Same on this side. There we go. So there's one. Another thing I like to do is create a line. And I'm going to go kind of slow because if I go too fast, the line won't be as pigmented and it may get some skips in it. And then just do some dots along that line. And then other things you can do is just adding areas of interest by stars, mark making, bubbles, dots, that sort of thing. Kind of whatever you want. So let's see here. I'm looking at this in this screen because sometimes looking at it there helps me to see it as a whole. And let's see here. What I might do is actually bring in a pattern into this section because I feel like this is just all very much one and it's kind of weird. So let's just do this. You guys wanted abstract, you certainly got it. Okay, that looks good to me. Cool crisscross, right? Let's see here. We could do the same thing to these, but I'm thinking maybe not. Trying to see. Because I kind of like how this is like the focal area, but then I feel like these are, oops, still getting a little lost back there. So maybe they do need that little crissy-crossy. Okay, I actually really like that. All right, so again, I'm just gonna maybe make some like just little stars, because why not? I never do little stars. Again, tell me you listen to Coldplay while you do your work without telling me you listen to Coldplay while doing your work. All right, so the last touch we're gonna add here is glazing again. Okay, but this one we're gonna make a little simpler because we're not gonna glaze a ton. So I'm gonna go and grab some of that Indian Yellow Deep and I'm gonna glaze just some of these guys right here. I probably should use a smaller brush. All right, let's do this guy. Oops, that was way too much water. Gonna maybe do it in that rich green gold just to make it stand out more. And I'm just picking cells at random. Whoops, that was too dark. Whatever though. I'm gonna add some of that garbage purple. I'm gonna put it here. Jennifer Ricardo says, you are my universe. I love it. I love Coldplay. I love that you love Coldplay. And I think you just did what I asked you to do. Tell me you paint to Coldplay without telling me that you paint to Coldplay. That was violent. Sorry, I had a drip on the barrel right here that was about to get on my painting, and I was like, no. Oh, JRW Jill. She likes Coldplay. Whatever. You know why I say whatever? Because you're not a Swiftie. But I'm glad you actually do like something that I finally like. Or not finally like, but we finally have something we like in common. Because I thought we were going to have to break up there for a while. You're my TikTok romance. Look, we can't have everything in common. I know, chicken lady. Jeez. Jeez. But that's like a pretty big thing to not have in common. I'm just saying. All right, I think we are just about done. Let's see. I think we need maybe one more right here. And maybe one more right here. Look how fun that is. Now, there are a couple of areas that I accidentally got paint on that should be white, so I'm just going to go over those right quick. Mainly this one, because it's got purple on it. It looks stupid. And I got green on this one, but you can't really see it that much. Okay, that ought to do it. All right, are we ready for a tape pull? Let me just warm it up. I'm in love with this one, you guys and gals. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Oh yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Ooh. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. We did it. We did it. We have arrived. Look how pretty. Okay, so now I have to ask, if Irvina is still here, how difficult was this? I don't know if Irvina's still here, but if she is, I know when you first see something like this, it looks super complicated. We feel great about it. She's still here. Yes, girlfriend. Okay, so yes, when you do something like this, or like this, or like this, it looks super complicated. But we just broke it down, and we just did it. And it's small. It's like, what? Almost 5.5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. Yes. So, we've been here for about 2.5 hours. I want to know from you guys. Excellent, Jennifer Ricardo. I want to know from you guys if you have any questions, if there's anything else I can answer for you or recommend to you before I go eat some food, because I am hungry. I'm going to move these to the computer. There we go. All right. It looks like we are good to go. What is your schedule? Oh, that is a good question. I go live Monday through Friday, Eastern time, around 9 a.m. I usually do art demos every day. Sometimes I try to teach a little beforehand. Today, I did a little bit of teaching. I think you were here for that. I don't even remember what, oh, here it is. Today I talked about the different ways you can use metallic watercolors. I also went over the wash. I believe you were here for that as well, because you had commented about that. So aside from that, and then we did the demo. Usually it's just some sort of art demo. And usually once or twice a month, I will also host a... I'm changing it, and if Jill is still here, she's going to laugh at me, a Gen Flicks and Chill. And in the past, it was called a Paint Along. Another time, it was called a Florida Gen and Chill. But now I'm calling it a Genflix and Chill because it's just funnier that way. But basically, I will host a Genflix and Chill where we get together. It's usually on a Friday night, 7:30 Eastern time, for about 2 hours, where on a multi-guest you can come and you don't have to show your face or anything, but I multi-guest with people who RSVP. And it's basically like getting together at a coffee shop with your artist friends. And I guide us through a project like this for over the course of a couple of hours. Jill says, well, she just walked away from the phone for a second and left it unattended. What do you mean? What do you mean? I don't know what she's talking about. But anyway, and so then we make stuff together. So on the last one we made this one. Again, I know it looks super complicated. It's not as complicated as it looks. The one before that, I don't know if I do have that here. We made this one. The whole idea is to learn how to let go of perfectionism with watercolor so that you can actually work with watercolor. Because a lot of people start with watercolor and then they get overwhelmed or upset or angry by it because they feel like they're not getting the results that they should be getting, and so they give up with it. And so my idea is just, let loose. I'll guide you through painting, and you can either let it take on a life of its own as we go. You can always ask questions. We get to know each other really well. That's not exactly how I met Jill, but Jill is my TikTok lover. So, yeah. Oh, and Lenny G's in the house now. She's my sister-in-law. And so, yeah, that's what we do usually once or twice a month. And again, that's free. And I've got some rules for that one, though. You have to basically not be interruptible, because I don't want screaming children in the background. I don't want TVs on in the background. I don't want people getting on and sharing very deep, dark information or being argumentative and that sort of thing. So it's supposed to just be a fun, chill Friday evening fun time. So, yes. That was probably a lot of information. All right, so we feeling good? We feeling good. Okay, sure. All right, everybody. I hope that you all enjoy your Monday. I'm going to take a picture of this for those that didn't get to stay till the end. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Inspired. What do you mean she's back? I don't get it. You're confusing me, Jill. Whatever. Thanks for the follow, Jennifer. Bye, Lenny. What's for lunch? What's for lunch? I'm hungry. Anyways, all right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I took my phone back. Lindsay says, I'm hungry. Hey, I still have those snap peas you need to come and eat, boo. They're going to go bad again. And then you will have never tried my snap peas. And then you're going to have to wait till the fall. Yeah, okay. I'll text you. All right, let's get on off of here. All right, bye, guys. See you later.